Donnie here from About 2 Acres. Sorry it's taken me a bit to get back on this video to kind of close out my review on the MIGMax 215 that I purchased from Harbor Freight. I'd brought up a concern in one of the videos about its ability to weld with flux core wires, gasless in particular, flux core wires. And during that time trying to get it to do it and all, I just wasn't going to give up on it. I know a lot of guys don't care for the flux cores, but when you're out in your driveway or you don't have a bottle of gas, then this is what you're going to use. So anyway, I found some information online. First of all, I went out and I bought a row of Lincoln's NR211MP, which is a very popular wire with most guys that are running these welders. Everybody seems to like it, and it is a really good wire. Matter of fact, I had a spool of that on my flux core only 125 flux core only machine. Never had a problem with it running on that machine doing any of the welding that I did. So anyway, I went out and I pulled a data sheet on it, and I welded, got everything where I could actually weld with the flux core on the machine and produce some good welds, or what I consider good welds, and they look pretty decent. So what I found out are these wires are lower voltage and lower amperage wires, which kind of makes sense, seeing as they're a hollow cord wire with flux in the middle. They would not run at the voltages nor the amps that a solid wire would. Another thing I found out is people are comparing this Harbor Freight, Vulcan, whatever you want to call it, wire, GS wire, to this wire, and it is not a fair comparison. This wire is a multi-pass wire. This is a general purpose single pass wire only, and is not held to near the standard, being this G basically says that if the customer agrees to buy the wire or is okay with the wire, all this looks good, then it's okay. This wire, however, is actually an E71T-11 and is held to more stringent specifications due to that. So there, it's a multi-pass. Anyway, going into this, I found out a lot about the wires. It's going to help me in the future. So let me slide these back and I'll kind of show you the welds that I just, these right over here on, excuse all these other, and these were all gas welds that I was playing around with a welder. How do you not play around with your welder when you get one? This weld right here was with the Lincoln inner shield wire. After doing some tests with a voltage meter, multi-tester, and getting it kind of lined out. Not bad, good penetration. It looks real humped up, but it actually isn't. It's a decent bead. Now this is running the Vulcan wire at the exact same settings and trying to maintain the same travel speed to the best of my abilities, and I am a little rusty. But here, you got a narrower bead and a little taller bead, which tells me I should be running this at a higher voltage than this, and probably a heavier, if I want to widen that bead out, then I'm also not, that would flatten it, but also I probably need some more wire speed. So, but both of them are good looking welds. I would weld with these, single pass on projects and not feel at all worried about them holding. Good welds, got good penetration on them. So we'll just slide these back here just for something to look at while I talk. So what I found out on the settings on the welder, as I said, doing some multimeter testing, The low side, if you go to manual and you go to the low side on this welder all the way down to 1, you're going to be putting out about 14.5 volts, somewhere in and around that. On the high side, you're going to be putting out about 24 volts. And actually, if you go to the manual or the specifications on this machine, it actually comes out right. Now this was all done, those were done on 240 volt, and that's what I'm running now. So the high side of the voltage that this machine puts out is 24.8 at 200 amps on 240. On a 20 amp circuit on 110, which is what I have here in the garage, it will put out 24.3 at 115 amps. And you know, finding that out, that's the reason why I was having trouble even on 110 getting the wire to work, and it's burning hot. So by using the multi-tester and going in there, I figured out that if you go in at 1, you're setting at about 14.5 volts, and you go up about 1 volt per number. Your wire speed feed on this, and you can go into specifications on the welder, are 50 to 500. So if you'll take that and you know, divide that out on your alphabetical dial over there, each lettered position on your dial is about 50 inches per minute. So somewhere around D gets you about 200 inches a minute. E's about 250. That weld that you saw there with the Lincoln inner shield was setting in between the two numbers, so I'm assuming I was running somewhere in the neighborhood about 220 inches a minute and worked fine. So I'm hoping that that helps. You know, it being is going to the specifications, those voltages make sense. You know, that it is running within the voltage of the specifications, and I'm hoping that that helps somebody that's looking at this welder. Do not trust the synergic flux core settings nor the chart. I tested the synergic settings on 30 thousandths wire and 35, by the way, and not a lot of difference there. 35 handles a little better because it's thicker wire. So if you go that way, this thing was running this wire set on 1/8" steel. Now this 1/8" steel was running this wire at 21 volts. So you're setting 21 volts and your wire speed's putting you at about 110 amps is where I was running it. I couldn't really tell wire speed because the safety, the soft start on this thing. So I don't really know where it was putting wire feed. I'm assuming it was putting it somewhere in the neighborhood of about 250 inches a minute. So now I went to the manual settings, and it's even running it hotter. I put it on down on or where it says to run it, and then it tells you to go 7.5 for 1/8" steel, which on this, figuring it out. And so I was actually running about a volt and a half higher on the manual settings. So now you're running the stuff at 22.5 volts, somewhere in around there, which is way outside of what the wires are even specified to do. So they missed the chart, they missed the synergic settings. I'm saying on the synergic settings, when you put this on flux core, all it does is shut the gas off. Because I did a little testing with solid wires, and you were looking in and around those voltages. Well, if you go look at the specifications on the solid wires, they will run there. That's where they run. Thus the really good, nice welds per the auto or the chart settings with this machine. So, like I said, I wanted to close this out. Am I disappointed in the welder? No, I am not. And I hope that this helps somebody that's trying or is frustrated with the welder that wants to weld flux core. Maybe they can't get a bottle right now or something, and they really want to get out and do some projects. Well, I'm hoping that somebody seeing this video and will use this knowledge, and it will help them to get the flux core running for them, because it welds great once you get it tuned in. It's just their settings are off. So anyway, I appreciate y'all's time. Hope this helps, and I'll get this posted, and looking forward to the comments.